The Rock's ego or his age? Did one ruin the Smashing Machine? The Smashing Machine was released theatrically October 3rd, 2025, and that's important. All films, even imperfect ones, are better in the theater.
We come to this place for magic.
I can personally take or leave the rest of the audience.
Because we need that, all of us.
The Smashing Machine is the story of MMA fighter Mark Kerr, played by Dwayne the something Johnson.
The Rock!
And rather than the whole Dwayne Johnson thing, from here on out, I'll just be calling him The Rock. I was in high school in the late 90s. We used to gather weekly to watch Raw. I cannot help but call him The Rock, whether he likes it, you like it, I like it. He's The Rock. First, the bones of a great movie are here, or at least a great story. I mean, it's a real story. The guy had an interesting life. He's still living it. The direction, the editing, the director actually edited, all that stuff is solid enough. However, there were certainly things that stood out and definitely bothered me. First, being a movie about fighting and fighters, an MMA movie, if that's a category of movie now, there was a lot of exposition around those fights via interviews and press conferences. And that's not necessarily an entirely bad thing, but the film kind of beat us over the head with things. When the film itself, through normal filmic techniques, told us things and we understood it as an audience, relationships, etc., what's working, then it used these to very expositionally then retell us things. And it just kind of beating you over the head with it. The real annoying thing is when the fight commentary is telling you how you should feel or giving you the dramatic stakes. Sure, it helps set up that this is an 8-man tournament. I need that part of the information. But I understand that Mark Kerr has been through a lot. Will he make it through this? Yeah, I've been through that with him. I've been watching the movie. And I mean that as a compliment. We get it emotionally. The movie got us there. It didn't need to be so direct.
Hello.
This also speaks to the other problem. Later in the film, when it's going to be Mark versus Mark, we're told it's going to test their friendship. Likewise, via those interviews earlier, we're told that they are good friends, even though they wrestled in college and Mark won. This all brings me to a much better example of a biopic, released the same month as The Smashing Machine, Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. And my biggest criticism about Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere is probably the Springsteen part. Just Deliver Me From Nowhere. That's a great title by itself. Anyway, Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere was released on October 24th, 2025. And although I love this movie, there was a similar problem. Jeremy Strong plays producer John Landau, and while he's quite good, in particular in this quiet scene between him and Bruce Springsteen in the bedroom where he recorded most of Nebraska, he's also kind of a smashing machine. I mean an exposition machine. It's kind of smashing it over your head. He loves to tell Bruce and everyone around in the audience that Bruce is a genius, yet he's also a working man. And we get it. The movie lets us know this. We understand it through the film itself. I'll admit, criticism of this one is much more challenging because I am a big fan of Bruce Springsteen's music, and particularly the album Nebraska. I know those songs inside out. For example, in the film, I can just hear a few lines from any of those songs, and because I know the song, I completely understand the emotional landscape of that entire scene because I know the entire song that we're not hearing in the scene of the movie. As a teenager, I bought it on CD and I took my little mini boombox and I sat by my parents' fireplace and I just listened to it. And I just wept and cried beginning to end as I listened to all of Nebraska. So again, I know these songs intimately. So when I hear just a few words, a little bit of the music, it establishes an emotional reality for me that the film maybe didn't. I don't know. I have pages and pages of notes of my own thoughts on those songs. This is a long way to say, particularly in a movie about a real person, and maybe a less famous real person, it's hard to bring the audience up to speed. So I'm trying to be sympathetic to the Smashing Machine here. I knew nothing of Mark Kerr. The movie showed me, good job, but then it told me, less good job. The Smashing Machine, via performance and far more stable use of cinema, tells us just that. You don't need to just tell us that. Also Mark II, The Rock is Mark I, but Mark II is Ryan Bader, a real MMA guy, and his performance is at once the best and yet most unpolished in the film. At times, his line deliveries are stiff and unnatural, like Me Now, but in quiet moments, he can be just absolutely riveting. He knows the emotional truth of existing in that world, and that really comes through. He could become a great actor, there's just something there. Benny Safdie, the director, similarly directed Kevin Garnett in Uncut Gems to great success. Also, I wish the film had been more explicitly about the rivalry between Mark Kerr and Mark Coleman. Mark and Mark, thanks to The Rock and Ryan, create a genuine, believable connection. However, the movie kind of tricks you into getting there, and it shifts its focus later in the movie. Up to that point, it's kind of a C story at best, and Mark's got all these other things, drugs, his relationship with his wife, all this other stuff going on, before then it shifts into the focus. The primary focus is this relationship, which maybe it has been all along, but I wish it was more central and the film had been more focused on that, giving it more of a heart that it lacked. Here is where Deliver Me From Nowhere is a truly brilliant biopic. It focused on a short period of time. Springsteen comes off a tour and has to deal with depression and childhood trauma, and it just deals with a focused in, very narrow part of his life. He did so in the form of Nebraska, along with several songs that would go on to the blockbuster Born in the USA. A very different album. It's almost hard to imagine that some of those songs originated from Nebraska. But if you really listen to Born in the USA, it's a lot darker than you thought it was, or at least I thought it was. But unlike me meandering in my sentences, the film didn't meander and try to tell too much story. The Smashing Machine, on the other hand, kind of did try to tell too much story, unfortunately.
Yes, you can stretch me more, yes.
The real problem? The Rock. Is he terrible? No, he's okay. Not great. Pretty good. But noticeably, The Rock. And by no means lost in the role. We're not talking Mickey Rourke in The Wrestler or Hulk Hogan in Suburban Commando. That kind of lost in the role.
Play this game a lot.
Game? What game?
For The Rock, he's good. Somebody else maybe would have been better, probably would have been better. Maybe they wouldn't have been as jacked, but probably would have performed better. I don't know. I don't know if either of those things matters all that much. In Deliver Me From Nowhere, Jeremy Allen White becomes Bruce Springsteen, just as he became a wrestler and Carrie Von Erich in The Iron Claw, stealing every scene from Zac Efron with just quiet intensity that he brought over to this role, that he kind of has in most things he does. That's kind of his thing, in a good way. He embodied an icon of music because he found the broken, depressed human inside of an icon of music. Someone just struggling to be okay. The brilliance of the film is that he doesn't fix everything after his brief relationship with Faye or the album itself, the artistic success. Things aren't suddenly fixed and better. It's just things are moved along a little bit. The film shows that things can move forward. Like a running back, you carry the ball for 1 or 2 yards until finally you break on through for a long touchdown run. I say this as a Steeler fan the day after they just got demolished in a playoff game as I record this. It's hockey season for me, I guess, now. Also, weirdly, I think The Rock might be too big to play Mark Kerr. Mark Kerr was big, but I don't know if he was as big as The Rock is, or at least not as cut. But I'm not an expert on fitness by any means. I try, promise you. Need to try harder. Jeremy Allen White in his everyday life is bigger, just more cut physically than Bruce Springsteen. But it works because he's not sort of monstrously ripped. I don't know, what do you think? You let me know. I'm not qualified to speak to these things. As to the performance side, which I'm probably also not qualified to speak to, it's not unlike Ashton Kutcher playing Steve Jobs. He wasn't great or even good, but better than I thought he'd be. But when you compare him directly to a much better actor in the same exact role, he gets beat down like he's being attacked by Mark Kerr. This also speaks to a general biopic problem or a potential problem with biopics. or biopics if you prefer that pronunciation. I obviously don't. While it wasn't his life story, but his fighting career roughly from 1997 to 2000, but Steve Jobs, the film, and Michael Fassbender's performance lent itself to a more focused structure that the Smashing Machine might have also been trying to achieve. I think, maybe. The 3 acts of the film are framed around 3 big launches for Steve Jobs, with not Apple, but 3 companies at the time, 2 of which I think were Apple. But these 3 big launches sort of are also big emotional events, and all these other things are going on in his life, because that's how life is. And these things always bubble up when there's big stressors in your life. And the film really works well because it just all comes to a head in these moments. Did it probably exactly really happen like that in real life? Probably not. But filmically, it works really well to have it happen that way. These tech launches are constrained to time and place, helping the narrative. Deliver Me From Nowhere, like the Bob Dylan biopic, A Complete Unknown, focused in on a short period of time in the artist's life, rather than small chunks of events that were sort of hemmed in as I am hemmed into my garage right now. Again, I think the Smashing Machine kind of sort of tried to have that Steve Jobs-like structure, but it was a little bit too loose with it. For example, while the scenes were powerful with all the drama at home, maybe having less drama at home and bring that drama to the arena. Having these things take place as these fights were going to happen. Just as all these crazy arguments and discussions happen as Steve Jobs is orchestrating these launches. Would have been a really impactful film. Less true to life probably, but a more powerful film. The drama showed up at these events, and the personal drama elevated the drama of these tech launches. Tightening things up for the Smashing Machine would have also worked this way. About 1, his entry into the fight world in Brazil, which is kind of just really an intro montage in this film. The no contest knee to the head fight, and the Battle of the Marks. Just have it be centered, more focused on those 3 things. Part of why I say this is the fight stuff was just the strongest part of the movie. At least to me, it felt the most real. The fights felt believable. And the real core relationship, Marky Mark, it just was there, like literally in those places. And to me, that was the most important relationship in the film, Mark and Mark. And that relationship occurred in the fight world. And I would have wanted more of the movie in the fight world. Then again, most of a fighter's life isn't in the actual fight, but all the stuff that isn't the fight. So, props to the movie for that, I guess. The main issue, the big issue, the kind of glaring issue, is The Rock's age. The Rock is currently 53 years old. At least as of when I scripted this. Mark Kerr, as of scripting, is currently 56. Like now. He looks like a 50-year-old man. And plus the prosthetic nose, it's just not necessary. Doesn't make him look more like Mark Kerr, it just makes it look like The Rock is trying too hard. I mean, for example, later in the movie, he just shaves his head and he just looks like The Rock. Cast a 30-year-old actor, and not to imply that The Rock isn't an actor, but he's kind of here to prove he's an actor, which just, it's kind of going in a circle and getting nowhere. He's a hamster in a cage and he's trapped. Cast someone who doesn't have to prove he's an actor, who can just be unencumbered by acting. And not in all these interviews talk about how he's an actor and he's showing you he's an actor. Just go out there and act. Also, The Rock very nearly ruined WrestleMania when all we wanted to see was Cody finish his story. And that's saying that something because I don't really watch wrestling, but I was in on that one. I was watching that one. I wanted to see the Cody thing. And then The Rock shows up and like the watch thing was that, and always ruined it. Yeah. And I don't even watch wrestling really. So I can't even speak to that. It's been a long time, but I was in on Cody. I don't know what's going on anymore. Jeremy Allen White is roughly the same age as the actual Bruce Springsteen when Bruce lived the events of the film. Like, Jeremy Allen White's about 30, Bruce was maybe 28 at the time. You're not instantly aware that it's an actor playing a role because there's some glaring thing about it that stands out. There's not this thing that just grabs you and says, hey, this is a movie. I'm sure the aforementioned Michael Fassbender, I don't know, Chris Evans could play Bruce Springsteen, but not this Bruce Springsteen. They'd be too old, just like The Rock was too old to play Mark Kerr. The Rock could play Mark Kerr now, shopping at that grocery store in Arizona. The Rock's age also impacted the supporting role of his wife in the casting of Emily Blunt, because when you cast The Rock at 50, you gotta cast someone in their 40s because they're both supposed to be in their like 30s and 20s. And you need a less glaring age discrepancy. And Emily Blunt is great. Emily Blunt is always great. Just ask Judy, it's like her favorite actress. You can't go wrong. And she's excellent in this. But had The Rock been 30 years younger or, you know, not the 30 years younger, but someone 30 years younger played the role of Mark Kerr, and then someone 10 years younger than substitute for The Rock would have played his wife, and it all would have fit a lot better and helped the verisimilitude of the film. Verisimilitude? Verisimilitude. Let's consider the film Anora. Cast, I don't know, Joaquin Phoenix as that Russian kid, and then you can have Emily Blunt be Anora. Performance-wise, they'd both be good. They're, you know, great actors, they could pull it off. But it doesn't have the same thing. Seeing this young woman go through these things is really jarring and powerful. When you see someone who is, you know, my age, it doesn't carry the same weight. You know, I've been through different things in my 20s and 30s than I'm going through now in my 40s. And film should reflect that accurately. Not to take roles away from older women either, but it should be the right roles. It's all a crumbling house of cards at this point for me. I sometimes love The Rock, sometimes hate him. My guess is that his ego and his star power got this movie made. But the flaw is that he built this as a vehicle to showcase that he is a real great actor. An actor's actor. And I'm glad The Rock pulled all these resources together to get a movie released theatrically that I watched on my television months later. I just wish he would do what old wrestlers are supposed to do for the up-and-comers. The old guys put the kid over. When the kid's becoming a star, he puts him over. In my little knowledge of wrestling lingo, that's what The Rock should have done. Found some young, buff dude with great acting chops, maybe from the MMA world, and put that kid over. Both films had a budget of about $50 million. And as of the very end of 2025, The Smashing Machine made around $22 million, and Deliver Me From Nowhere made around $45 million theatrically. Go watch Deliver Me From Nowhere. It's a movie where you'll become lost in a time and space, and some great music. And an appropriately cast actor. If you like this, please share it, subscribe, and all that stuff.